everyone, and welcome back. I'm Victoria, and welcome to Criminal Hearts. I don't think I've ever said that since I started these reactions, at least. Anyway, welcome. I'm Victoria, and today is our True Crime Friday day. Today, I want to give a shout out to Buzzfeed and Buzzfeed Unsolved, as usual. Just because I really love using their videos and really love watching their videos. I also want to say thank you to Ryan, Brent, and Shane. Shane? Yeah, Shane. For doing these videos. I absolutely love them and love BuzzFeed and love doing reaction videos on them. So, this next one we're doing is the 9 hikers of Dyatlov Pass? I guess we'll find out, shall we?
Let's do this. This week on Buzzfeed Unsolved, we're covering Dyatlov Pass.
Dyatlov. I didn't know that's how you spell Dyatlov. I love how it says the supernatural incident, even though it's a true crime video. But, you know, these past few videos have been a mix between supernatural and true crime videos, which is fine with me. I'll take them.
It's probably one of the weirdest cases out there.
He says that every time.
Even your precious science won't save you today.
Okay. This is Ryan
on
and
the evening
Brent.
on February 2nd, 1959, a group of 9 skiers led by...
We're out of Germany. We're in Russia now, guys.
Igor
Eventually we'll
died
make it
near
to
their
the United
campsite
States.
next to Otorten Mountain in Russia. The horrific state of the campsite was discovered on February 26 by a rescue team. 2 of the 9 bodies were found by the tree line about a mile away from camp. And despite temperatures dropping to negative 30 degrees Celsius, the 2 bodies were curiously wearing nothing but underwear.
Where were
they? Okay, so I'm gonna bring up this again because I did before when I was talking about the missing 411 video. When I was talking about that Dr. James, I think it was. Hypothermia. One of the final signs of hypothermia is you get really hot, so you want to take off your clothes. So that is not unusual, especially not in places with extreme cold. You'll see a lot of mountain hikers who go on like Mount Everest or whatever. A lot of times when they end up with hypothermia, they take off their clothes because they're really hot in the end. And then unfortunately do pass away. So.
Oh, you'll find out. Another 3 bodies were found between the camp and the trees.
Okay.
One of them had a fractured skull.
Cool.
However, doctors at the time determined that the cause of death for all 5 was hypothermia.
Yeah, see? Hypothermia.
Strangely, the remaining 4 bodies of the 9 original were not found until 2 months later.
So, 4 bodies were found 2 months later, while 5 were found, I'm assuming, within the first week or so. But pretty quickly, I would assume, of hypothermia. Or at least they're assuming at this point, which is what I would assume currently as well.
Of these 4, 1 had a fractured skull.
Okay.
1 had crushed ribs.
Okay.
And 1 woman had crushed ribs and a missing tongue.
I'm sorry, what? A missing what? Missing tongue. Okay. What'd she do? Cut out her own tongue? Because she didn't want to tell anyone?
Whoa. Oddly, these 4 bodies that were found later were wearing the clothes of the previous bodies that were found 2 months early.
Interesting. The only thing and only reason I can see this happening is they had found the clothes of the other people and put them on because they were cold. And then I'm assuming something happened to them in the end because I don't think they ended up with hypothermia. I think something actually did happen to them. Maybe it was hysteria that almost turned into hypothermia, and then the hysteria got him or something.
Even
But
more bizarrely, when these clothes were tested, they were found to be radioactive.
Interesting.
that's not normal. I could be completely wrong, honestly.
In
That's
fact,
not
there were
normal, though.
reportedly traces of radiation all around the campsite.
Number one, what kind of
Oh,
radiation?
yeah.
Alpha, beta,
Gamma.
Does it matter? It's radiation.
Well, lots of things have radiation. Like
Yeah,
that
they do.
word in itself is not necessarily.
He's not wrong. I mean, even a microwave has radiation. When you go to x-rays, that's nothing but radiation. So it could be like deadly radiation, or it could not be. There's honestly no clue. And considering they could at least touch the clothes, I would assume the radiation had absolutely nothing to do with it. Just because radiation in general, if you're near it, and it's one of the deadly radiations, usually I would assume you go down pretty hard and pretty fast. So I don't think it would have been a radiation that would have killed them.
Necessarily as scary as one might think.
The
Yeah.
radiation becomes even more puzzling when combined with the fact that there was no outward trauma to the bodies. The injuries found in the bodies were caused by a force determined to be too strong for a human to cause.
Adrenaline? I don't know about that one. Too strong for a human to cause. Adrenaline is a thing, but I don't know.
The creepiest detail, however,
Mhm.
is that there was no evidence of an outsider entering the tent. The tent was ripped from the inside.
How do you look at a tent?
Okay. The tent was apparently ripped from inside. They're at this point, I'm assuming in deep, like, freezing cold temperatures. 5 of them didn't have clothes on. I'm assuming ended up with hypothermia. The others, however, did have clothes, so I'm assuming hysteria got to them. I don't know about the radiation, and I would assume the hysteria made their adrenaline pump a little bit farther than normal. Maybe, I don't know about the inside
No.
though.
This is ripped from the inside.
How did you determine any of these things they determined?
I'm just wondering if you know.
Easily,
You don't know.
actually.
Okay, cool. Just say they're facts unknown, but that's what the detective said.
I agree. There are many facts that they could have said or found, but there were none. Facts unknown, but that's what detectives say. Basically, yeah. There's a lot
Anyways,
of unknown facts.
Let's get to the
here.
theories now. One theory is that there was an avalanche that buried the tent.
Great theory. Love the theory. Except you guys heard that, right? You're cool, dude. I guess. Anyway, the avalanche. They wouldn't have had time to take off their clothes. They could have already been in hypothermia, and then the other 4 hit with an avalanche, but they said that they seemed like they were and they could have like tried to crawl out of the tent. I'm curious to know what evidence they have.
That would explain the tent being cut from the inside.
Yeah,
and would
they were
also
trying to
explain
go up.
the deaths by hypothermia.
That doesn't explain.
Doesn't explain the deaths from hypothermia. Well, I guess it could be for the 5. They got hypothermia inside and took off their clothes. However, I would assume all 9 were in the same tent at the same time. So that would bring up the question, why didn't the other 4?
Kind of close.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned that. There's an effect called paradoxical undressing. where disoriented hyperthermia victims remove their clothes because their bodies feel like they're burning. This would explain the nearly naked bodies.
That is exactly what I was telling you guys. In the missing 411 case, they do feel like they're getting really hot, and so they do take off their clothes.
But
so
this theory has no answer for the radioactivity, nor does it have an answer for the missing tongue. So that
missing tongue, that is a good job. Thank you for reminding me about that. There's like no reason for a missing tongue, which is weird. She could have bit it off for food, but I don't know. As far as radioactivity, that literally doesn't tell me anything, because it could have been radioactivity that was not normal. Like, it could have been the radioactivity that you find in a microwave. Something that doesn't usually harm people.
What?
Usually.
How? How is avalanche out?
How does an avalanche cause radioactive forces, and how does an avalanche rip someone's tongue out?
You didn't say her tongue was completely gone. You said her tongue was cut off.
It says missing tongue.
There are some translation things going on here from Russian.
Nice. I like it. But I'm gonna agree with Brent on this one. Or not Brent. I forgot his name. Ryan. I agree with Ryan on this. Although, I will say this, the radioactivity isn't the main thing that should take this off the table. It's the tongue, not the radioactivity.
In the English? I'm just saying.
Another theory is that a Soviet test missile caused the deaths. A doctor on the autopsy team said an explosion could have caused some of the injuries that were bizarre. However, no evidence of an explosion was found.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's no, other than, inhuman effects, there's no reason to theorize a test missile. There was no signs of metal fragments or anything like that near or around the bodies. There's, as it says on here, no records of a missile launch. Like, there's no reason to believe that at all.
A missile launch were located. Something I didn't mention earlier was that the expedition originally had 10 skiers, but one of them left early due to an illness. A man named Yuri Yudin.
Ooh, okay. So the plot thickens. Yuri Yudin, I think is what he said. So he left because of illness. I wonder if maybe that illness spread to the others, and between that, the cold, and everything else going on, could have caused even her biting out, even him or her, I guess. I think he said it was her, the missing tongue. She could have bit her tongue out, honestly, depending on how hysterical she was.
Making him the lone survivor of the trip. I bring this up because Yudin helped identify items found at the site, but there were some items that he couldn't identify, one of which was a cloth that he claimed looked to be of military origin, as well as skis and glasses.
So there was more
to believe
stuff.
That perhaps the military found the bodies of his friends before the rescuers did, maybe trying to cover something up.
Yeah,
we don't know if the person asking the question was leading him in any way to be like, does this cloth remind you of military cloth?
That has been known to happen, but there's no way to determine whether or not that's what happened or not. So we gotta go based off of what we have.
It does, actually.
Like I'm making a murderer.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, there was no evidence of a fucking explosion near there. That's kind of
there
hard to
wasn't.
cover.
Well, not if a missile hit the top of... You ever see Mulan when she does the thing?
Okay, right now you are citing an animated feature.
A good animated feature film, by the way. But yeah, there was no evidence of an explosion. I doubt they were trying to cover up anything, unless they found something, which I doubt. There was no cover
film by Disney. On to the next one. This next theory, even I will admit, is completely
Aliens? Is it aliens? I bet it's aliens.
bananas.
It's
Some
always
suspect that the
aliens.
group was
It's worse than an alien. Let's hear it.
actually attacked by a Yeti.
All right, next.
Mhm.
This theory even commanded 2 hours of a Discovery Channel special called Russian Yeti, The Killer Lives, in 2014. However, there was no evidence of a Yeti, and furthermore, I can't imagine a Yeti taking the time to cover its...
This is implying, one, that a Yeti exists, which is very possible, but also that the Yeti, like he states here, is a mastermind. Like, he did all of this and still covered everything up, which is weird.
tracks.
Either way, everyone knows that the Yeti is a peaceful creature.
Not according to Russian Yeti, The Killer
Sure.
Lives. This brings us to our final and most popular theory. And I imagine you saw this one coming.
Aliens?
It's alien.
I told you, it's always aliens. Why?
All right. No, hear me out here. There's actually a lot of reasons why this makes sense. There are supposedly
Oh,
reports of bright flying spheres in the area in February and
Stars?
March of that year. Here's a quote.
Bright flying spheres. Stars. You're in Russia. Literally any military unit ever. There's so many things that a flying spear glowing could be.
Quote from lead investigator Lev Ivanov. Quote, I suspected at the time and am almost sure now that these bright flying spheres had a direct connection to the group's death. End quote. Even
Okay.
more peculiar, Ivanov was also ordered by Soviet officials to close the case. Aliens would also perhaps explain the radioactivity found at the site.
Not
It would
really.
also explain the inhuman trauma caused to
That
the bodies.
maybe.
And as far as no evidence being found of an outsider from the tent, I think it's safe to assume that if they're out there, aliens have gotten pretty good at covering their tracks.
I don't buy it. Bright flying spheres, missiles.
No,
You're going aliens over, a possible missile.
I think
Yeah.
they're both equally plausible. Maybe that's why they ripped
I
the
don't
tent
know
apart
about
from the
that.
inside. Maybe they saw something they didn't want to see and they got so scared that they were trying to retreat and they were like, fuck zippers.
No.
Yeah.
Just like with the Men in Black episode, I don't know if aliens are real or if they're not. All I know is not everything is determined to be aliens.
Yes,
How?
because there's no evidence of a fucking missile blast.
There's no evidence of a fucking alien ship landing on a mountain.
That's because we wouldn't know what evidence of that looks like. And if there was...
Okay. He's right. He's right. We wouldn't know what that evidence would look like. But, I think both the missile and the aliens are out of the picture here.
What are you
I
talking
don't think it's either one.
No, fuck you. Regardless, in the end, authorities supposedly determined that the deaths were caused by a unknown compelling force.
I
And
agree.
Seriously.
consequently, the case remains unsolved.
Based off the information in front of us, I go avalanche number 1, military cover-up number 2.
But you can't say it's not aliens, is my point.
No.
I actually agree with Brent. I think the avalanche is the most plausible out of everything. Probably not a military cover-up. Probably an avalanche that ended with 4 of them or 5 of them with hypothermia, the other 4 going hysterically crazy and dying. I have a feeling that's going to be it. And as far as the evidence of stuff that the guy, what was his name? Yudin, I think. I don't know. But the guy the 10th person, I think he got out in time.
No, because it doesn't say aliens. It doesn't prove aliens.
It doesn't.
You cannot connect the two other than you want to.
Yeah.
I think it proves a little bit, yeah, that there may be alien life out there. I think it's proof that maybe we're not.
Okay. It could, but I doubt it.
But
No.
yes.
I don't think really there's any conclusion that you can come with based off these facts.
So what do you think happened then?
I don't know. There's not enough information. That's why it's unsolved.
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence missing here. Okay. So, my most plausible reason as to what I think happened was an avalanche happened. 5 out of 9 people ended up with hypothermia, took off their clothes, and died. The other 4 probably ended up with hysteria due to ongoing hypothermia, which ended with the hysteria killing them, not the hypothermia. I doubt it was a military cover-up, and I doubt that it was a Yeti or aliens. I think the most plausible is the avalanche. I'm not sure what actually happened. There's a lot of evidence that isn't there. There's not much that is there. So, that being said, you can't really make a case based off of what you have heard today. This was also in 1959, I think. So, it's hard to determine what actually happened without all the evidence. So, as always, I would like to say thank you for joining and have a great and wonderful day. Bye.